I thought it'd be a great time to review Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3 from Manga Entertainment, because now it's not on Netflix. So I'm now going to review it. You can get this on DVD, link in the description. If you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Here is Mighty Morphin Season 3, and this took me such a long time to get through. Hooey. Okay, so I didn't know, and I generally think this is how, like, I thought this series carried on, like it would be opening up to something different. But it's the Masked Rider episode, so I was very kind of like, oh, is this true? So I had to Google it and be like, I didn't realize. I thought season 3 must have started after Masked Rider or something like that. But it also made me kind of think that Alpha uses the teleporter for his own needs. Now I've had a few discussions, Ranger fans saying like the teleporter shouldn't be used unless it's an emergency. But Alpha asks them all to go, bar Kimberly, who's ill, to Edenoi to check up and see if the King's fine. That's a bit of the abuse of power, Alpha. I'm sure that's abuse of power and shouldn't be used. But hey, it's an episode, so it doesn't really matter unless you're Alpha. So the season starts off quite well. You've got the Masked Rider episode, and obviously they're trying to introduce Masked Rider. Now, I loved Masked Rider as a kid, but what annoys me is in this episode is Dex just constantly going like, by the power of the sun and the power of the moon, I shall use my powers to defeat you. You use this, Power Rangers, Ectophase, activate. And I generally sat here going like, why can't he just say whatever and then go Ectophase, activate, rather than giving a whole spiel of stuff? And it just generally kind of annoyed me. But I still love Masked Rider anyway. Now, I will say, all the way through the season, there is a lot more American footage than I thought, because I generally thought there was a lot more Sentai used. And I think this is due to the fact that for what they wanted to plan, they couldn't use a lot of it. And that's absolutely fine. So they used more things. Now, also, I have to say, like, 2 characters leaving in the season, or building up to them leaving, was big. Kimberly for one, and then obviously Billy much later on. And there's a few things I want to talk about near the end of this video that I'm a bit so this is going to be a long one. I will say, back in this Masked Rider episode, having Kim ill and sneezing through the mouth, those helmets apparently seal tight, so how can Kimberly sneeze onto the monster? So maybe those air holes do actually carry germs, which makes the monster go, I don't like this, and kind of like disappears off in it makes it easier to kind of fight later on. I think in a few episodes you see how the show becomes interesting, mainly for Bulk and Skull becoming junior police officers, the way Tommy almost kills his entire team, and then the destruction of the Thunderzords. These are really big moments, and obviously you've got Kim leaving, Kat joining, and then obviously some of the major 3 to 2 parters that they put out there. All of this feels very different to watching season 2 and season 1, where mainly you just get this whole kind of like, we want to power through this. But I think season 3 could have been the last season of Power Rangers if they wanted it to be. And I think it was kind of wrapping everything up, which felt a lot better in my eyes than, say, some of the seasons that we've had like later on. We also see a proper morph, like the whole thing where you only see it once, where they're all in the park where the destruction of Thunderzords are. But one thing you do see a lot more is American Zord footage. Now, previously from season 1 and 2, I don't think you actually see anything like that, and I love this. I wanted it more. I feel like if they decided to go down this route, we could have had tons more stuff done. And I feel like we could have had more interesting battles than switching between American and Japanese footage. So I would have loved to have seen more American Zord footage, because it felt refreshing, and that's what I generally really liked in this. Now, with the ambush of the Thunderzords and the destruction where it then leads into the Ninja Quest and stuff, I generally really like this, because it felt like the Rangers were losing all the time. You have the Rangers meeting Rito for the first time, getting ambushed, and it felt like the Rangers actually lost, and it wasn't just the whole cockiness that they always have, like, we're the Power Rangers, we're gonna win this. So I love seeing them actually fail and lose, because it gives the Rangers, or gave the Rangers, more, how do I say, it gives them more of a human aspect, rather than morph, defeat, lesson and learned at the end of the day. I will bring in this whole fact of Tommy almost killing his entire team. Now, one thing that's always bugged me more than anything is the fact that the Rangers always listen to Zordon and Alpha, and when Alpha says, like, the power converter or the power emitter is the power capacitor, that's the thing, is at capacity, and it's hurting, and like if they push it, it could strip the Rangers of the powers. And I feel like in that thing, when they say strip them of the powers, it also means and worse, where Tommy just goes, that's a risk we're willing to take. Where you see any other leader turn around and put the team first and say, hey, we should do this. I think that the Rangers should have literally held back, but it feels like when they fought out the Megazord, which again isn't done to scale, because it looks like the size is completely different. So when the Rangers lose their powers, at that point, I think Tommy should have been, I shouldn't be pushing them this hard, because I do feel like if it carried on, they would have all died, and that wouldn't have been good at all. And I think when people turn around and say, Tommy's the best leader of them all, I think that's wrong, because no leader would let his entire team die like that, or have their powers being stripped. And it's one thing that really irritates me more than anything in the entire run of Power Rangers, mainly to do with Tommy. I do think the destruction of the Thunderzords is one of the better things that you see. It's like this whole, oh my god moment at the very first time you see it. But I do blame Tommy for losing that battle and losing the powers and the Zords, because I think that you wouldn't see that normally. So I do blame him for that. Out of this, I still feel that the Ninja Quest is one of the better story arcs in the entire franchise, because it should have been what they've done with the film. I feel like the film should have been that they should have just done it in the same sort of style rather than what we got, because the whole arc is interesting. You meet Ninja, you meet the fact that they get new powers, and it feels like a whole new Ray. Like, it feels refreshing, and it feels like you've seen the destruction of the Thunderzord. So this leads in, so that there's a sense that they've got to get more power, because Zed, Rito, and all that, they're all gonna like trash the city. I feel like that should have been the film, and it should have led in like how they did with Turbo. But effectively, I think the Ninja Quest is one of the most interesting story arcs of the entire Power Ranger franchise. One of the ongoing jokes in this that I generally really like is the it's when you have Bulk and Skull at the police academy, and they're learning how to be police officers, and you see these people running or jogging, and they're going hop 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 all the way through. I generally thought that was awesome. It was one thing that I really kind of liked in it, and they keep it up all the way through. And I think that if they just dropped it off, it was perfect. Even at the graduation ceremony, when they go running, it's still there. And I loved it, because it's that sort of comedy that I think Power Rangers has that does it quite well. I just kind of wish that they kept it all the way through, like have it at random points. But I loved it. I think it was perfectly well executed, and it is, again, I think one of my favorite Bulk and Skull moments. I really like the introduction to the Ninja Zords. The Ninja Megazord is possibly one of my favorite all-designed Megazords of all time. I really love the fact that how it's introduced, and I loved how they use it all the way through. It's one of the best looking Megazords, and I don't think there's many Megazords that look better than that one. I was a fan of the Ninjetti fight scenes, because it felt a little bit different at the time. It wasn't just the generic, oh, now we've got to stop this, we can't do this. We have to rely on Sentai footage. So to kind of like beef out the entire whole series, using the Ninja Zord fights, I think was actually a really good thing in my eyes. And it's one thing that I would wholeheartedly would have loved to have seen a lot more introduced into other series. But for what they did and how they used it, perfect. The only thing I would downsize is the fact that the powers are linked to the life force. That was a bit kind of but it serves a purpose, because, Kimberly and Kat and all. I feel like Mighty Morphin was trying to wrap up a lot. And I think that obviously because the Sentai footage was all from Die Ranger, that they couldn't do it, or Kaku Ranger, which they bring into Alien Rangers later. But for using Die Ranger footage, I think that they had to think outside the box. And you really see it kind of pushing, because there wasn't that much Sentai footage. Most of it was American fighting, which you do see a lot of, like, say, the Megazord fights that were like Sentai based. But for majority of it, it was mainly American fighting. And I think that if they kept this going, I think that they could have done well. Like, I would have loved to have seen Die Ranger suits. I would have liked to see more Kaku Ranger stuff in this. But for what we got for the main battles and stuff, I feel like Mighty Morphin Season 3 had more of that, and it felt more in depth with the characters as well as the storylines. And I feel like they were able to think outside the box. They used some interesting monsters. Like, it was some weird ones, like the caterpillar one, the face stealer. It just seemed a bit kind of off. And one thing I laughed is when they brought in Titanus again. I love the fact that they used the toy and they had to have the Dragon Zord shield in the middle. So where, like, you think that maybe they could have done something different, but maybe they could have had the bare face or something. But seeing the Dragon Zord part, it made me laugh a little bit. Maybe they could have designed a toy that didn't have the thing coming down, so you could have the Ultra Zord running with the cannons and stuff. But seeing that just made me laugh. It was a little bit of Dragon Zord still left in the series. We miss you, Dragon Zord. We miss you. I believe, like, there's a lot of story arcs which impressed me, which I paid more attention to than the random episodes and stuff. So you had, like, Kim leaving, Kat coming in, the Zeo quest, the metallic armour. And I loved all these sorts of stuff. Like, the Zeo stuff was interesting because it was nice seeing it at the very end with Alien Rangers. But all of this was just perfect. And I do like some of the storylines. I have to admit, I can't watch the entire season for a while. But dear God, just watching it almost all the way through, it did bore me quite a bit. Like, there were some things where I was like, yeah, I'm really behind this episode, I really want to watch it, but I know I could only watch a few episodes. I couldn't watch, say, like, a whole thing over and over again, like for an entire day or for a couple of days. I would have to take a major break. But, you know, with the storyline, Kat being evil, I loved this. This to me was perfect in so many ways because I enjoyed all of it compared to what we got previously. There's a part where the Shogun Zords come in and Lord Zed and Rita say, hey, you know, if you want these Zords, you have to pilot them. I would have loved to see the Rangers have to do something evil, because I feel like that would have added on to the characters of the Rangers. You know, even if it's destroying a building or two, I would have loved to have seen this, because it would have felt to me like the Rangers had to learn new things. Like, they had to have this conscience that was, like, burning on them. Even if they had to apologize and said, hey, I'm really sorry, Lord Zed and Rita, they forced us to do this. It would have brought more character to development than pretty much anything. And that's what I generally really wanted to see. More character development within the characters rather than what we kind of got already. I just think it would have been perfect to see them do that. And all of us as kids would have gone, oh my God, why did they destroy that building? It would have added more to this, and that's what I wanted. I will also say, Evil Cat, though, hot as hell. Oh dear God, she was my first crush in Power Rangers. I did really like the fact that Lord Zed and Rita really had to think more outside the box. It wasn't just the generic same stuff that we'd seen previously. They really had to think outside, and I absolutely loved that. I wanted more, and it felt like their stories were more interesting to watch than some of the stuff that we've had previously. Now, I am not the biggest Mighty Morphin fan. I loved it as a kid, and as my tastes have changed, I'm not a huge fan of this series. I don't hold high regards for how great the series is. But for seeing how season 3 is, it impressed me. And I think that season 3 is the better of all the Mighty Morphin seasons, because it felt like the characters had been developed. Everything worked as a team. There wasn't any kind of doubt. There wasn't anything bad there. And with seeing how the stories felt, they were solid. Now, there was a bit more kind of comedy elements that they put in, which I don't think needed to be there, but they were there because that's what the 90s were like, and that's what people kind of expected. But seeing how this all was, I generally really enjoyed it, even though there are a ton of episodes which did bore me. But seeing how they did the series was fine. If they cancelled the series after season 3, I would not have complained, because I think it was well-rounded, and the way that they moved on with it, I think was absolutely kind of perfect, and that will be a video for much later on. With Kim's departure in this, I feel like it was well written. It wasn't just a quick immediate departure like you had with Tommy, where it's like his powers were gone, he's gone the next episode. It felt like they wanted to say goodbye to the character and actually give it a proper send-off, rather than like say 2-3 episodes and then she's gone completely. So the lead up to where her powers are gone, she's been drained, she's the main focus of everyone going for her, the introduction of Kat, the passing of powers to Kat, that was the main thing. I would have liked maybe 1 episode or 2 episodes where she's still there, where she's like, oh, you get them, Rangers, like, you get them, guys, or the putties or the tangers would come down and attack her still, or she helped out. I think that would have been a perfect thing to kind of bring in, and that's what I wanted to see. But the way that they ended her arc, the way they ended her from the series, I think was absolutely perfect, and it worked well. And you know, now she's doing off whatever she is in the Pan Global Games. I think one of my favorite all-time storylines is the metallic armor set, where you meet Master Vile, you meet Globber, and these, I think out of all bad guys in Power Rangers, Globber has the most powerful one and also is the most trickiest one to actually defeat the Rangers, rather than say a run-of-the-mill monster, or like say Rito or Goldar. Globber, I think, is one of the most powerful monsters and was able to do more damage to any monster than any Ranger has ever seen, all the way through the franchise. And that's a very hard thing to say, but Globber also was kind of one of the monsters that kind of didn't scare me as a kid, but not freaked me out, but I was a bit, it's like type thing. But I generally think that he could have been a better monster, and obviously, you know, he's never come back. You know, if they resurrected him, I think he would be cool. But I love the whole arc where Ninja gets out, like Ninja escapes. I love it. And then as soon as he's back on Earth, gets captured. It's like, boom. I thought that was funny. And I also love the fact that when Rito breaks the vase, that it's the toy Ninja inside. And I thought that was great. I could not have done that more perfect myself. It was just the way they used the toy was great. You know, the Zords getting destroyed in the same arc, or getting badly damaged, like teleported. I think they get teleported away. I should have seen because I've just seen it. But you know, the fact that the Caves of the Deception, the fact that you had the Green Ranger, I would have loved to have seen a bit more of a fight. Like, I know we get it a lot with the Wizard of the Deception, but I would have loved to have seen another fight with the Green and White Ranger. Just a little bit, to the point where Tommy just hits it and it goes, fades away. You know, it would be nice to see Tommy go against the deception of his friends. I just think there's so much more they could have done with that, but they were on a lot of time. But I generally really like what they did with it. Now, I loved the whole arc with the Master Vile and the metallic armor. I think it is still one of the best arcs that we've had in the Power Ranger franchise. I feel like this was a thing where the Earth was about to be destroyed, and then obviously it saved and it was fine. I generally think that this is something that I would love to see more in the franchise. I'd rather see some big main thing come in and actually take over quite a few episodes, rather than just like a 2-parter. Rita and Zed taking over the world. You don't normally see this until Countdown of Destruction, because that's when the same sort of episodes happen. But just seeing that all was absolutely fine. Like, it felt like the Rangers were defeated. And even when the Rangers turn up for the end of the world party, Goldar says, like, why should I attack you? You're going to be, the whole world's going to die. It's going to be destroyed. I really like that Goldar didn't have to do anything, but still scared the Rangers, because they wouldn't have been able to do anything. And I would love to see more of like Zed come in and be like, hey, I'm, you know, like literally the drunken uncle or something, just telling the Rangers what it is, like, and then just walking off, like flipping them off. That would have been so cool. You know, you didn't see this sort of major big thing until Countdown of the Destruction, or at least the Armada arriving in Super Megaforce. I feel like there is tons of stuff. One thing that I did pick up, and I never noticed this, and I have noticed it previously, but rewatching it, is when Globber goes into the ultimate transformation using the power of the Megazords, but he turns into all the Kaku Rangers. Now, you would never have picked that up, you know, you would never have done it or referenced it again. But dear God, was it so cool. I was like, oh my God, why doesn't it look like that? And then going like, oh, it's Kaku Ranger. You know, back then saying that doesn't look like a Megazord, and then not knowing about it. not even thinking about it, like, oh my god, the alien rangers kind of turn up. Also feel like one thing I noticed in this is like when it came to downtime, the Megazord fights were a lot longer. And I feel like when they didn't have much kind of ranger footage, they would use more of the they would use more Megazord stuff, and I was fine with that because we've never seen lots of Megazord fights. It's always like 5 minutes or like 3 minutes and gone and stuff. So seeing this, I generally really thought this was a better thing, and I want to see more Megazord fights because we don't see much of them now. So it'd been cool to have them happen a bit more. So Rangers in Reverse is one episode or series that really irritates the crap out of me. And that is because there are so many inconsistencies in the whole thing. So the whole episode is about them reversing time and thus therefore sending them back to when they were kids. Now, theoretically, Tommy wouldn't have been there. He would have disappeared. Kat wouldn't have been there. She would have disappeared. For Adam, Rocky, and Aisha would have all been like teleported away, and they wouldn't be in that area whatsoever. And I feel like a lot of the other things moved around. It would be in different time areas. Rita would be back in a dumpster. Now, if it only affected time on Earth, I can understand that, but I generally kind of think that it would affect time everywhere else, and that's the main thing too. But if you're on Earth, therefore it would have affected you a lot more. I just feel like a bit of it, like also with the Alien Rangers coming in, because this is where it comes in. Like the Alien Rangers would be the first Power Rangers that Earth would have seen. So there would have been kind of remembrance, like people would have remembered them, but then all of a sudden they don't. It to me, it just was a big thing where it irritated me. At the time, I didn't care as a kid, but as an adult looking at time, I would think that would have been the main thing. Like they don't really reference it a lot. They don't say, "Oh, hey, this is the main thing." It just irritated me on a few different levels. I love the fact that there was Lord Zed and Rita and all that grow big and they were destroying the city or about to, but then they get downsized. Now also there's a thing like they've got a curfew in Angel Grove, which is a bit weird because there wouldn't have been one back in that time. So it felt like they wanted to add more stuff, like here is the Rangers. Oh no, there's a monster attack. No, can't have that. Everyone in curfew, go back. So it kind of irritated me. Now I skipped a lot of the Alien Ranger episodes because most of it was just the same. I loved the more nitty gritty dark element to the filming. I really wanted more of this rather than like say a mini episode, because it just didn't feel right. It felt like it was a very rushed thing. I would have maybe cut down the alien few of the other episodes in season 3 and then added more alien episodes. But I think this was a major transition to seeing if would this have worked if they changed the suits or would they kept going on. And I think it came with a really kind of great thing that they were going to do. So I love the fact that Alien Rangers was there, but it was a way to kind of test of how would people react to the new suits. Would it be good or would it be bad? The main thing is, like, obviously people don't retain the memories when they went back to being adults and stuff like that, and that generally did kind of annoy me because now they won't remember the Alien Rangers, but yeah, again, the Alien Rangers had major impacts. People would have recorded things. People, there's historical events that happen in the show that people could look back at, and that's one thing that really kind of frustrated me on a few levels. Now, I wasn't impressed with how they used the battle Borgs. I just generally hated the fact that they were punching and kicking in the air. I felt like even though they wanted to try something new, I think that maybe they could have gone inside the Zords and that would have been better. I just felt it a bit cringy, like if someone saw this from afar, like why are they just kicking and punching in the air? It wasn't a very good thing because you literally weren't hitting or punching or kicking it in the right way. So it just felt a little bit kind of off. This is one thing again that annoys me because it should have affected Billy. So when Billy becomes an adult again, the power coins are destroyed, which again shows a lot of the stuff right there. I feel like Billy, when time reversed, he should have been a lot older, and I felt like that would have been a main thing. I know obviously what they wanted to kind of do, but maybe they needed Billy back on the team to kind of like elevate it or something. It was just a very weird thing on why they chose Billy. But at the end of the day, it kind of felt like it wasn't needed. You had the Alien Rangers using your power coins to become the Power Rangers again. you know, again, it would mess up the way that the time would be. So obviously Billy not being able to morph was a big, like I would have kept him as a kid, and that would be the main thing all the way through. Not unless the kid had to leave, and that was the main issue. So if you know, let me know down below in the comments. It kind of carries on with the Zeo quest and how the Rangers go off and do their own thing. The only cool one in the Zeo quest was Catherine's one, where you saw old cat, normal cat. I like that story, and I wish that kind of like carried on for a bit longer. So the main thing, and this is one thing that reminds me from my childhood, was the destruction of the command center. Rita and Goldar grab the Zeo crystal, and they teleport out. Now normally they would be back on the moon by now, so them being lost later on in Zeo, it just doesn't make sense. And the Zeo crystal being there, like there was enough time for them to get away, not like they just run out of the building and stuff like that. But the command center blowing up, that was one of the best moments. Like it was the most ingrained moment in my mind that I can say that's happened in Power Ranger history that made me go, oh god, what? And again, being at that wedding and watching it and not knowing what would happen, because in the UK we wouldn't have got Power Rangers until much later. So I was very kind of like, oh my god type thing. So I really loved that. I just wish that the Zed and Rita got the Zeo crystal, and then the Rangers would have to go back there with their old powers or something, or like Zordon's power or something. You know, if the suits are in the Zeo chamber, then they're there. But to be fair, while watching this, I have to admit, all the season, like there was a lot. I didn't realize how much American footage that they used. It was a lot, because I generally thought it just used a lot of the Sentai footage. The storylines were great. I still love Master Vile and Metallic Armor, because I feel like that was a long-winded one, and it felt like the Rangers got beaten all the time. I loved it because it felt again like they were heroes, they were normal people that would get beaten, and they weren't just godlike characters that would win every single match. And it taught them so much, and you can see how it progresses all the way through the series. I also kind of think that the ninja powers weren't as strong as the dinosaur powers, because there were bad guys that they fought that would like take them down, and it just felt something like the ninja powers weren't that strong. Like they had different abilities compared to, like, say, the raw power of the dinosaur. So I feel like I feel like the dino power and stuff like that was a lot stronger than ninja. I did get majorly bored while watching so much of this, and I know that a lot of fans will say differently, like they could watch it all day, but for me, I think I'd have to limit how much I watch, because I did get very bored all the way through. You know, there were some good episodes which I was like, oh my god, I need to watch this, but majority of the rest ones I was like, oh, I can skip this because I'm not really bothered. But yeah, like, would I recommend getting this? Yeah, I would, because you can't watch it anywhere else at the moment. So if you can pick this up anywhere, I would recommend picking up season 3. It's a good series, even it has some major big flaws plotline, but there is so much that you can watch, like, and you can enjoy. I feel like the series rounded up quite well. I feel like there's a lot to do in the series and stuff. But yeah, I think this is worth picking up. If you can still pick it up, definitely order it. If you can't, try and find it somewhere, because I don't think that you would be disappointed in it. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on Mighty Morphin Season 3? Is it a good series for you? Yes, no? Would you pass? Are you okay with it? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.